Shalom, shalom to all my fellow brothers and sisters out there. It's me again, Damian Powell from YeshuaSavesAll.com. Peace be to you in the name of our Father, Yahweh, and our Master, the Son of Yahweh, Yeshua HaMashiach. So today, my fellow brothers and sisters, we'll be talking about be the rare gold that Yahweh seeks. Be the rare gold that Yahweh seeks. 2nd Ezra chapter 7, verse 51 through 61. For whereas you have said that the righteous are not many but few, while the unrighteous abound, hear the explanation for this. If you have just a few precious stones, will you add to them lead and clay? And I said, Master, how could that be? And he said to me, not only that, but ask the earth, and she will tell you. Address her, and she will declare it to you. Say to her, you produce gold and silver and brass and iron and lead and clay. But silver is more abundant than gold, and brass than silver, and iron than brass, and lead than iron, and clay than lead. Judge therefore which things are precious and desirable, those that are abundant or those that are rare. And I said, O sovereign Yahweh, what is plentiful is of less worth, for what is rarer is more precious. And he answered and said, weigh within yourself what you have thought. For he who has what is hard to get rejoices more than he who has what is plentiful. So also will be the judgment which I have promised. For I will rejoice over the few who shall be saved, because it is they who have made my esteem to prevail now, and through them my name has been honored. Hallelujah. Now let's go over to 2nd Ezra chapter 8, verse 1 through 3. And he answered me and said, the Most High made this world for the sake of many, but the world to come for the sake of few. But I will explain the parable to you, Ezra, just as when you ask the earth, it will tell you that it provides very much clay from which earthenware is made, but only a little dust from which gold comes. So is the course of the present world. Many have been created, but few shall be saved. So Yahweh is looking for rare gold, which are the few righteous in the world that will be saved. This is obviously the narrow path that Yeshua speaks about in Matthew chapter 7, verse 13 through 14. Enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the way that leads man to destruction, and many are entering by it. But the gate and the way that leads to life, it is exceedingly narrow, and few are they who find it. The rare gold are the few righteous who are willing to walk the narrow path, which are those who keep the commandments of Yahweh and trusting in Yeshua HaMashiach, Revelation 14:12. Okay, so what does it take for us to become rare gold? It is a process that Yahweh sends all of his people through to refine them. So the question is, are you willing to go through that fire to be refined? Or are you content with being lead and clay that has less value or no value at all? As we see, he wants rare gold. Now, 2nd Ezra chapter 9, verse 14 through 22. I answered and said, I said before, and I say now, and will say it again. There are more who perish than those who will live, as a flood is greater than a drop of water. He answered me and said, as is the field, so is the seed. As are the flowers, so are the colors. As is the work, so is the judgment. And as is the farmer, so is the threshing floor. For there was a time in this age when I was preparing for those who now exist, Before they came into being, the world was made for them to dwell in, and no one opposed me then, for no one existed. But now, those who have been created in this world, which is supplied both with an unfailing table and an exhaustible pasture, have become corrupt in their ways. So I considered my world, and behold, it was lost. And my earth, and behold, it was in peril, because of the devices of those who had come into it. And I saw, and I spared some with great difficulty, and saved for myself one grape out of a cluster, one plant out of a great forest. So let the multitude perish, which has been born in vain, but let my grape and my plant be saved, because with much labor have I perfected them. So again, we see another reference to the few that will be saved. We have the one grape out of a cluster, the one plant out of a great forest. You can just picture that. That's how many people are going to be saved and how many people are going to be destroyed, right? But the point is, Yahweh labors hard to perfect us. That's what he said right there. With much labor, I have perfected them. So Yahweh labors hard to perfect us, to get us on the narrow path and keep us there by the leading of the Ruach HaKodesh, the set-apart spirit. So as we saw from the scriptures earlier, that only a few will be saved, and they are likened to rare gold. So let's view an article about gold refining process to see if it applies to us on our walk. This article was written in FEB, the ninth day, 2018. It's called Trial by Fire, Gold Refining. Once upon a time, your favorite gold necklace was part of a bunch of other metals congealed together in a rock. When gold is mined, it is barely discernible as the metal we have come to love. It is, in fact, what experts call an ore. An ore can have a high or low amount of gold content, depending on where it was extracted. Goldsmiths use cyanide to extract the gold from the ores, forming something called a door. Onward to the next stage. The door has to go through a trial by fire at the refinery. I want you to keep these terms in mind. A trial by fire at a refinery. In an exciting process called refining. It is reliquefied in a furnace and then heaped with generous amounts of soda ash and borax. This effectively separates the gold from the impurities and other metal traces. There are actually a range of interesting scientific ways gold can be refined. Whatever the method, what remains is the purest gold on the planet, and it is cast into a beautiful bar that glitters like the sun. Okay, so let's break this down. So as we see from the article, that gold did not just come out as pure gold as we know it. Rather, it is barely discernible before it is refined. It had to be effectively separated from the impurities, just as we, as believers, are refined by the blood of Yeshua HaMashiach, keeping the commandments of the Torah out of obedience, which separates us from the impurities of this world and separates the wheat from the tares and the sheep from the goats. 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 15 through 16. Or what accord has Messiah with Satan? Or what portion has the believer with the non-believer? Or what harmony has the temple of Elohim with idols? For you are the temple of the living Elohim, as it is said, I will dwell in them and walk in them, and I will be their Elohim, and they shall be my people. Matthew chapter 13, verses 37 through 42 in the Hebrew. So he answered and said, he who sows the good seed is the son of the virgin. The field is the world, and the good seed are the righteous ones, but the thistles are the evil ones. And the enemy who sows them is Hashatan, Satan. And the time of the harvest is the end of the world, and the reapers are the messengers. For like a man who gathers the thistles and burns them, so it will be at the end of the world. The son of Eloah will send his messengers, all the stumbling blocks in his kingdom and the evil ones he will place in the fire of Gehinnom, and there will be weeping and trembling of teeth. So, separating. Now, if Yahweh had not refined us, then we also would be barely discernible from the rest of the world, just as gold started out before being refined, as we read in the article. Because you would be celebrating pagan holidays like them, eating unclean foods like them, dressing like them, talking like them. You would be just like the rest of the world and would be undiscernible from them. That's why we're called out to be separate. 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 17. Wherefore, come out from among them and be separate, says Yahweh. Touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you, and will be a father to you, and you will be my sons and daughters, says Yahweh Almighty. Hallelujah. It's clear. It's beautiful. So now, let's look at Leviticus chapter 19, verse 1 through 2. And Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, speak to all the congregation of the children of Israel, and say to them, you shall be set apart, for I, Yahweh, your Elohim, am set apart. Okay, so the scriptures that I'm about to read, that I'm about to go over, shows us that Elohim wants us to go through the same refining process as gold, to be set apart from the world, so that we can become rare gold in his sight, and not the abundance of brass, lead, and clay that the earth produces. Our Elohim is molding us physically and spiritually to stand for him, to have unwavering trust regardless of what goes on in this world, no matter the level of persecution and injustice, and not being swayed by every wind of doctrine. Remember, like I said, gold has to go through a trial of fire, as the article mentioned, to become a precious metal, just as we have to be tried as gold in the furnace to become that precious stone that is pleasing in Yahweh's sight. Sirach chapter 2, verse 1 through 5. My son, if you have come to serve Yahweh, prepare your souls for trials. Set your heart aright and constantly endure, and do not hurry in the times of trouble. Cleave to him and do not depart, that you may be increased at your last end. What is brought on you, take cheerfully, and be patient when you are changed to a lower state. For as gold is tried in the fire, so acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. Wisdom, chapter 3, verse 1 through 6. But the soul of the righteous are in the hand of Elohim, and no torment shall touch them. And the sight of the unwise they seem to die, and their departure is mistaken for misery, and their going from us to be utter destruction, but they are in peace. For though they are punished in the sight of men, yet their hope is full of immortality. And having been chastened a little, they shall be greatly rewarded. For Elohim proved them and found them worthy of himself. As gold in the furnace, he has tried them and received them as a burnt offering. Zechariah chapter 13, verse 9. And I will cause the third part to pass through the fire, and will refine them as they refine silver, and I will try them as they try gold. And they shall call on my name, and I will answer them, and I will say, they are my people, and they shall say, Yahweh is my Elohim. 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 3 through 9. Baruch, blessed be Elohim, the Father of our Master, Yeshua HaMashiach, who by his abundant mercy has again renewed us spiritually to a lively hope by the resurrection of Yeshua HaMashiach from the dead, to an inheritance incorruptible and undefiled, that does not fade away, and is prepared in Shamaim in heaven for you, while you kept by the power of Elohim through trust for the life eternal, which is ready to be revealed at the last time, wherein you will rejoice forever. Though at the present you are sorrowful for a while through diverse trials which have come upon you, so that the proof of your trust, being much more precious than refined gold, which has been purified by fire, may be manifest for the esteem and honor and praise at the appearing of Yeshua HaMashiach, whom you have not seen, but whom you yet love, and in whose trust you rejoice with exceeding joy that cannot be described. And you will receive the reward of your trust, even the salvation of your souls. So, going through the furnace of adversity to be tried as gold in the fire to test your trust will bring forth endurance in all things. And you will come out on the other end as rare, precious gold, and will be rewarded when Yeshua comes, because he will have found you to be obedient servant that endured into the end. Are you willing to go through that fire and trust Yahweh without complaining or giving up? Or are you content with being led that is abundant on the earth that has no value? The choice is yours. And I pray that you give your lives completely to Yeshua HaMashiach and become sold out Talmudim, disciples of his. Sold out disciples, Talmudim. So, this is why James comes and tells us this. James chapter 1, verse 2 through 3. Regard it all as joy, my brothers, when you face various kinds of trials, for you know that the testing of your trust produces perseverance. But let perseverance do its complete work, so that you may be complete and whole, lacking in nothing. We count it all as joy when you go through various trials, because as we're being refined as gold in the fire. So also I want to mention this last part in conclusion. The article also said this about the finished product of gold. And it is cast into a beautiful bar that glitters like the sun. In the same way, the finished product of the righteous are likened to rare, precious gold. We also will shine like the sun. Just like that, just like gold comes out as a beautiful bar that glistens like the sun, so will the righteous. The righteous will shine like the sun. Matthew chapter 13, verse 43. Then the righteous ones will shine like the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Whosoever has ears to hear, let him obey. Daniel chapter 12, verse 3. And those who have done good and the men of understanding shall shine as the brightness of the firmament. And those who have turned many to righteousness shall shine and stand like the stars forever and ever. 2nd Ezra chapter 7, verse 97. And this is the order of the way of the righteous, the 7 orders. And I'm going to read to you the sixth one. The sixth order, when it is shown to them how their face is to shine like the sun, and how they are to be made like the light of the stars, being incorruptible from then on. 2 Baruch chapter 51 verse 10. For on the summits of that world they will live, and they will be like the Malachim, the messengers, the angels, and they will be deemed equal to the stars. Hallelujah. As you can see, the significance of being tried like fire, to go through the trials just like gold is, so that we will come out shining on the other end. It all ties in to our walk with Yeshua HaMashiach. So let us endure, let us keep going, let us not give up. And as always, may our Father Yahweh, Barak, bless you in Yeshua HaMashiach's name. Shalom.